Alright, good morning everybody. It's your friendly neighborhood's old soldier coming at you this morning from Robeson County, North Carolina, where I say it got cold last night, but the temperature did take a little bit of dip, as you can tell, because I'm wearing my tiger stripe woobie zip-up hoodie. It did get a little chilly. I'm sure it's going to warm up today though, so no fears there. Anywho, anyhow, anyway, Kyle, hope you're doing good, brother. But we are on our way to our routine monthly doctor's appointment in Red Springs, North Carolina. Some CB radio going off. Alright. So, what are we going to talk about this morning? We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about the tyrant that's in the White House. And I'm not talking about Joe Biden. I'm talking about the guy that was in there before President Trump. Everybody knows he's the one that's calling the shots right now. Just nobody wants to admit it. These ways, you know, anybody that's up there in some form, shape, fashion, or other in power. But anyhow, let's talk about communications with everything that's going on. You know, some of y'all asked, what do you do with this networking thing, old soldier? You know, and I don't want to get into full details here, just because of the fact that who else might be monitoring this. You figure if YouTube's got algorithms and, you know, some punk kid that never got out of mom and dad's basement monitoring this crap, you know. But anyway, let's talk about communications for a minute. These devices that I'm communicating with you on right now, I can make a phone call, I can send a text message, I can send an email. All that's great and wonderful. One problem: there is an electronic stored record somewhere. And unless you know exactly where it's stored at, you have a hard time destroying it. I mean, you know, granted, old, you know, Bill's husband, Hillary, bleach bitted all her crap and had them smashed up with hammers, but they were still able to find things out there and found her missing 30,000 some odd emails. And I still think a lot of that got suppressed when that first investigation came out. And of course, you know, the Hunter Biden thing's going on. My point being is, everything that goes on these electronic media devices, as a wise old man once told me, once you press that send key, that record key, you put it out there, it's out there forever. Okay? So, how do we deter that to keep from having people tap into when we need to have a conversation with someone of our like-mindedness? Without getting into too much detail, you're going to have to develop a method, a system of what in the old spy business was called drop messaging. Right? That's one method. Another method is CB radio. If you live within close enough contact of a member or members of your network. Why I say CB radio? Because then you can come up with your own talking code. Be talking over CB radio, nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. Okay? Because I promise you, in the days to come, even CB radios will start to be monitored, so you can't just talk in the open. What's open? I mean, it's a military term of talking in the clear, meaning nothing's encrypted or encoded. Okay? And let me turn that squelch down. So you have to develop some type of code that you and your counterparts understand. The other thing, you're going to have to learn to rotate that code. Don't get complacent that you think you've got a code that's completely uncrackable. Japanese thought they had one in World War II. Battle of Midway cost them. Battle of Midway cost them. Germans had the Enigma machine. We caught a submarine and got one of them. Well, the British did, actually. So they were able to intercept what was called the ultra intercepts, and they were able to read German messages in their entirety. Of course, they didn't make that common knowledge at the end of the war because there were certain things that they didn't want the Germans to know we were monitoring. And it cost Allied lives, but neither here nor there. So you need to start thinking about how you're going to develop other and alternate means of communication, because the methods that we're using now, again, can be monitored. I wouldn't be surprised that this is being monitored, given the course of the conversations I've had on this channel about what we talk about. Okay? And so there's a multitude of ways that you can do this, you know, and I'm not an SME on the subject, and I don't want to give away too many details about how I'm doing things with my network. But again, drop messaging is one. Sometimes you have to develop your own codes. But the other, like I said, the other key to it is your codes have to rotate. You can't use the same code for a considerably long amount of time, because at that point in time you wind up in a position where it can eventually be cracked. If you think about it, somebody that's analyzing it, if they can get 70% of what your code is, they can figure out the rest. You know, it's just odds are. Okay. In Battle of Midway, we didn't have 100% interpretation ability of the Japanese codes. We had enough that it made a very good guesstimation of where the Japanese would do if they sent out a certain transmission, which they did. The Japanese acted on it, and off they went. And just, you know, a little historical fact, what it was, the message was sent that their saltwater condensers were bad, even though they really weren't. Midway depended on seawater for drinking and bathing. If you didn't know, folks, you can desalinate seawater. I'm sure most of you know that. And there's a process by which they do that. And that's how Midway was able to sustain the troops that were there. If you ever look at Midway, it's just a speck in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And to think that little speck played a pivotal part of U.S. military history. But anyway, like I said, so those are some things you need to think about, work on. And the other thing too is you're going to have to learn to commit a lot of your code to memory. Yeah, you're going to have to eventually write some of it down to learn it, and if you do, you get to learn to keep that in a secure location that only you and maybe one other member in your network knows where it's at. And I know, folks, I'm getting all scary and spooky and all that good mess, but folks, I'm here to tell you that the rate our government is going, we may be up against a full-blown tyranny before it's all said and done. My video Saturday, I talked about potential food shortage. I would not be surprised if this was done by design. Remember what I told you about cloud seeding. Don't believe me, go look military history of what we did in North Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Did it to try and wreck their agricultural economy, their ability to feed their people, and also the vast amount of rainfall and floods just creates havoc. Now, I'm not a full-blown conspiracy theorist, but you think about a lot of these high-flying aircraft you just see every day, and the contrails that are coming out of them. Is that truly contrails? Sometimes you got to ask yourself those questions. Now, I could be entirely wrong. All this rainfall could be just a natural creation of God, and it's just His way of talking to us to get our lives straight. But I wouldn't be surprised if something larger is at play has created this vast amount of rainfall we've gotten this year. So, like I said, the farmer farms my fields. So he's never seen anything like it in all the years he's farmed. He's been farming 40 years. 40 or 50. Okay? So I'd have a tendency to kind of listen to what he has to say. But that's really all I got for this morning, folks, because I don't want to get too deep and dark into what's going on with Joe Biden administration, because I got to go get my blood pressure taken, and I don't want it to be sky high. Whatever you do, folks, keep your eye to the ground, or your eyes open, your ear to the ground. Stay safe, stay vigilant, stay armed, keep your head on a swivel. All right? Watch yourself and watch your back. Watch your friend and your neighbors and your networks back. Okay? Yeah, Latin, I'm going to close on this. With your communications, start developing intel gathering. Monitor what is going on in your community, your area, and start making note. Make note of not only just routine things, but make note of anything out of the ordinary that is taking place. Okay? For example, if you start to see a bunch of FEMA trucks and trailers roll in, make note of it. Why are they coming here? What are they doing? All right. You see a whole lot of construction crews show up out of the blue, and you haven't heard nothing else about new projects in your area. Ask the question, what's going on? Why are they here? What are they doing? That's it for today, folks. Like I said, stay safe, stay armed, stay vigilant. Watch out for yourselves. Until tomorrow, God bless, take care. It's the old soldier out.